Alright, you all read the title. I'm not going to waste your time. Breakout players from every team. Let's get it. Miami Dolphins, Jonnu Smith. After coming off a career year being tight end 1.5 in Atlanta, Jonnu finally has to show off his athleticism about being ridiculed by fans because he's taking away from Pitt. And you already know Mike McDaniel is going to find creative ways to get him the ball this year. Buffalo Bills, Khalil Shakir. Shakir is coming off a very strong stretch of games last year where he statistically outperformed Stephon Diggs in the second half. And now being wide receiver 1 in Buffalo, he's going to see a lot of volume, potentially over 1,000 yards next year. New York Jets, Garrett Wilson. Now, we all know how good Garrett Wilson is, but due to awful, and I mean awful QB play, he hasn't produced at his talent level. But hopefully now with Rodgers, he'll most likely eclipse at least 1,300 yards this year and establish himself as a borderline top 5 guy. New England Patriots, Christian Gonzalez. This seems like kind of a cop-out pick, but this team is so depleted of talent, I had to go Gonzalez. In a few games we saw, he already looked like an established veteran. If him being healthy this year, he'll probably be seen as a top 10, maybe even top 5 guy by the end of the year. Dallas Cowboys, Rico Dowdle. Rico has shown flashes of explosiveness, just never have had the volume to produce, and I believe it won't be hard to beat out the retirement home backfield for carries, and he'll have a career year. Philadelphia Eagles, Cam Jurgen is going to have a huge role to fill, replacing Jason Kelce. And although I don't think he'll reach those heights, he's going to be a solid starter on the Eagles O-line that should remain elite as a unit. Washington Commanders, Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson was solid for Washington last year, but now under Cliff Kingsbury's offense, he'll be asked to do a lot more in the passing game as well as being a runner. And I think he can handle the workload he's given. New York Giants, Bobby Okereke. I decided to not include rookies in this video, so I'm going to do a guy that some may argue already broke out, but I feel like he'll take another step and get more national media attention that the Giants desperately need. Kansas City Chiefs, Rashid Rice. Somehow this man avoided suspension, so now he's going to be out there week 1, and I think outside of Kelce being Mahomes' #1 target and probably go for over 1,000 yards. Las Vegas Raiders, Jack Jones. Jones looked very solid in the few games in Vegas last year, racking up 2 pick-sixes in the final month of the year, and I think he carries some momentum over and becomes a very solid cornerback 1 for Vegas. Los Angeles Chargers, Asante Samuel Jr. This guy has had really solid game, but I haven't quite put it together for a full season, but I believe this year we'll get a full year of Asante Samuel playing good to elite football. Denver Broncos, John Franklin Myers. After being overshadowed in New York, I believe his talents will be put on full display while people getting distracted by the elite defense around and could easily have a double-digit sack season. Arizona Cardinals, Trey McBride. McBride was putting up very good numbers once Kyler returned, so hopefully a full year of him and Kyler will result in big numbers and a league-winning fantasy tight end. Seattle Seahawks, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think it's a little unfair that a prospect as good as Jackson Smith had to be behind 2 good wide receivers. With another year of development, I could easily see him take the #2 spot from Lockett by the end of the year. Los Angeles Rams, Byron Young. After having a very solid rookie campaign, Young looks to continue and surpass double-digit sacks of his new FSU teammates beside him, and hopefully fill a void that of Aaron Donald, but he's not going to do that. That's too much pressure on him. San Francisco 49ers, Jawan Jennings. It's hard to pick someone out of this absolutely loaded team at the peak of its powers, but Jennings is a guy who stepped up when they needed him last season, and I expect more of that from him. Tennessee Titans, Tajay Spears. Spears is a guy I really like coming out of Tulane. It does kind of suck they aren't letting him be the RB1, but judging based on preseason, he's still going to see a lot of reps and will probably be the more efficient back in Tennessee. Jacksonville Jaguars, Trayvon Walker. This is a guy who's coming off a great year that I think will have a borderline elite year, giving Jacksonville arguably the best edge rushing duo in the league of him and Allen next year. Indianapolis Colts, Anthony Richardson. I know we saw very little of AR last year, but in the few games we saw, he looked electric, and I think he'll be one of the most fun and dangerous QBs in the league next year. Houston Texans, Tank Dell. Dell's year is cut short, unfortunately, last year, but him and Stroud already have a dangerous connection. I think defenses being more keened in on Collins and Diggs will give Dell a ton of favorable matchups that he will expose next year. Carolina Panthers, J.C. Horn. The only issue with Horn is health, because the talent is there. We just need to see him stay healthy, which he has failed to do throughout his career. So basically betting on health to not ruin this man. New Orleans Saints, Alontae Taylor. Taylor's been a very solid nickel corner for the Saints, and this year he should show the league that he is not some pushover corner that the Saints have. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Cade Otton. Cade's been a part of the Bucs for a while now, and he's been a good, not great player. Both the new OC putting emphasis on using him this season. Expect to see a lot of touchdowns from Otton in the red zone. Atlanta Falcons, Drake London. This one's pretty self-explanatory. The talent is there, but he hasn't had a QB who can get him the ball. Now he's got Kirk, so his numbers should increase substantially this year. Pittsburgh Steelers, Joey Porter Jr. Porter should flash as being a great corner last year, and I think those flashes will turn into multiple games of great cornerback play, and he'll be seen as top 10 by fans by the end of the year. Cleveland Browns, Martin Emerson. Emerson was a guy I was a big fan of last year, and I think he'll just get better, making the elite Browns defense even more elite than it already is. Cincinnati Bengals, Zach Moss. Moss looked really solid when JT was out for the Colts, even at one point being top 5 in rushing yards. Now that he's RB1 in Cincinnati, should be able to get the volume needed to produce at a top 10 to 15 level. Baltimore Ravens, Trenton Simpson. Simpson didn't play much last year for Baltimore, but he was never supposed to. He was meant to replace Patrick Queen, and now it's his time to prove himself. And with his talent and being next to Roquan Smith, I think he'll be able to fill that Patrick Queen role pretty well. Minnesota Vikings, Andrew Van Ginkel. Van Ginkel's always been a guy I think has gone under the radar, but reuniting with Brian Flores, I believe will make him a candidate to reach his first double-digit sack season of his career. Chicago Bears, Darnell Wright. After a solid rookie campaign, Wright looks to improve on it, and now having a QB that won't take as many sacks as Fields will allow his pressures and sack numbers to go down, and I think he'll just improve as a player next year. Green Bay Packers, Rashad Gary. This is another guy that's all about health. When he's healthy, he's as dominant as any guy in the league at rushing the passer, consistently having high pressure numbers, and eventually those have to translate to sacks. Detroit Lions, Jameson Williams. Williams, put into basketball terms, can shoot the ball from half court at any given time, but struggles with layups, which is basically saying he's great at the deep shots, but struggles with simple stuff. And if he can just be better at making layups, he'll be a very solid wide receiver too for Detroit. And that's all for today's video. Make sure to like, subscribe, the notification bell, and tell me who your breakout candidates are in the comments. And as always, see you in the next one. Peace out.